Once upon a time, in a room full of wonders, where every step leads to magic, and the journey of a true story begins here, with amazing guests and true miracles. Please like and subscribe for more amazing videos.
Hi, it's lovely seeing you this beautiful afternoon here in Greece. It's so warm outside, it's 40 degrees, very unusual for this time of year. Usually it's much, not that hot, much cooler, but yeah, here we are in this beautiful setting. Let me take the viewers back. It happened in 2015 when I was 39 years old, and I was 4 months pregnant at the time. And that day was a peculiar day. I wasn't feeling very well. And, you know, women have this natural innate intuition when they feel something might be, you know, taking place, something different is happening. And that day, my husband, who's a doctor, said, listen, we need to go to hospital to check out to see if the baby's okay. And we went to hospital that day. And sure enough, they said to me that the baby had died. I was 4 months pregnant, and that I needed an emergency operation. And of course, you know, it was a huge shock to me. A lot of different emotions started playing out. You know, I was 39. I was worried about having children, but at the same time, I was quite excited. It would have been my first child. And a lot of sadness came with all of that, you know, that, oh God, I'm 39. I'm not so young anymore to have children. And yeah, I guess that all of that kind of tumbled away, and I was led into this hospital room and put on the bed, kissed my husband goodbye, and just lay there on the bed waiting for the doctors to do the procedure. And then they administered that stuff, you know, that makes you relaxed. I don't know what that's called. I can't remember. I always forget that name. It's anesthesia. That's right, anesthesia. And as they administered anesthesia, I was so at peace and so deeply in that void, or in that place of love, of universal love, that I just didn't want to go back. And then in front of me, a screen started playing, and I observed the screen in front of me. And it was like a videotape pressed on fast forward. Lots of scenes started playing out, moving very, very fast. And every time I tried to fixate on one scene, it left, and then the next scene started, and the next scene started. And I remember them telling me, or telepathically telling me, remember what we look like. Remember this love that you're feeling here. Remember this incredible, intelligent, but not the intelligence we have here on earth. The intelligence comes from love. Remember this incredible, intelligent love, this universal love that you'll feel here, and I want you to bring it back to this earthly realm. And in that moment, I was sucked right back out of the experience and awoke next to a very strange Austrian nurse. And I kind of woke up, and I grabbed her hand and I said to her, wow, do you know where I've just been? I was so excited, you know. And I remember her throwing my arm away and just saying, you know, almost in a way saying to me, get a hold of yourself, you know. I mean, she wasn't really, I don't think she should have been a nurse after all, you know. She didn't have the empathy that most nurses should have. But luckily next to me, my husband was. And I was telling him about where I'd been and who I'd seen and what they told me, and the colors, the endless beautiful colors, not just one blue, but millions of blue, millions of greens, millions of pinks, fuchsias, purples, you name it, all these colors were endless. And after about 6-7 minutes, I realized that I wasn't speaking English, that I was actually speaking a very ancient language that wasn't earthly at all. It came from that place. I had still remembered speaking that language, and it came right back to this place. I feel their energy. I don't just feel their energy, I feel their life story play out in front of me. So I can sense the paths that they've taken, I can sense the hurt that they've had or not. I can sense where the trauma is exactly, all these things. And it's really interesting because how do you paint that? How can you put that into a painting? I have no idea. But when I see that, when I see trauma and things like that, I paint them down in symbols. And these symbols I just bring down in color. And it's not just trauma, it's a whole evolutionary step of your life that you've had here in this realm, what you've experienced so far. So it's really all kind of, it's the colors of the universe, you know. We're experiencing, why do we wear colors, for instance? Why do some days we wear pink, or some days we might wear soft blues, or maybe we might wear, you know, bright red? There is a much deeper reason for all of those feelings, because it's ultimately that we are electrical, energetical beings. We're frequency, and we go towards frequency how we feel. And so every color has an emotion, has a feeling. And so red might be alert and passionate. Schizophrenia is a very highly sensitive person, yeah, in every aspect, I think we all are able to open our third eye, every single one of us. It's just about wanting to do it, and it's combining. Fasting is very important. If you want to open your third eye, fasting helps to do that. But I think you need to be really careful if you do that. You really need to be ready, because it's a huge awakening when that happens. Because what happens when you open your third eye, what does that mean? It literally means that when your eyes are closed, an eye opens and you start to see things with your eyes closed. And a lot of people can think they're going crazy when that happens. Suddenly they see a screen open up in front of them in a whole different world, which is as real as this world. Yeah, so you really need to be ready for something like that. Yes, I have experienced it. And strangely enough, it happened to me about 3 weeks ago, which is pretty incredible. I never experienced it before. It was after a huge fight with my husband, who I've been with for 12 years. And I didn't eat for 2 days because I was really upset. And because I'm really sensitive, I don't like fighting with anyone, you know. And I didn't eat for 2 days, and suddenly I had this most incredible experience where it opened and I could see into another world. So I think every single one of us can do it. The more we treat our bodies with love and eating healthily, not being crazy, but, you know, being grounded, going out in nature, eating healthily, having positive conversation with people around us, not being so obsessive about the superficial crap that's happening, vanity, celebrities, what she's wearing, makeup, all that crap. We have to really take ourselves away from that and focus much more on the inner me, the inner you. You know, that's what's important, nurturing the inner you. Because who are you without your blonde hair? Who am I without all this colors? This isn't really me. We are so much more than this. This is just an avatar, literally, that we're wearing right now in this earthly realm, having either a wonderful life or having sometimes a very difficult life as well. You know, life is not always easy. It's not always linear. We will decide, you know, which paths we take and which we don't take, and sometimes we take the wrong paths. Sometimes we get hurt by our partners. Sometimes we hurt our partners. You know, it's all about experience and learning and becoming more of the inner love that we have always been. That's what it's about. It's letting go from the traumas, the fears, the anger, the guilt, the sadness. Letting go from that and finally accepting, you know, our curves. Am I too skinny? Am I too fat? You know, I'm also going through the same crap. But I just have to, at some point, just say, you know, pat myself on the shoulder and say, you know what? I'm doing okay. I'm okay. I love me, you know, because if nobody else is going to love me, how am I going to expect to love myself, you know? So I have to love myself first for other people to love me as well. And that's really important. We need to love ourselves. Not the way we look, but love ourselves when we are naked in the bath or in the shower and just say, well done, you know, you've made the right choices. And even if you haven't made the right choices, it's okay. Well, my connection to nature has always been really, really strong. Up until the age of 27, I was very, very superficial. I would go out every night, socialize, drunk, go out. Back then I lived in Beirut, in Lebanon. And funnily enough, I just want to turn off into a direction. I wrote a book about my life in the 90s because I really had a crazy life, very unusual life. I was living in Beirut in Lebanon, and I was going out with politicians, and I had mafioso friends. It was a really wild time in the 90s. And I wrote a book called Same Soul, Different Passport, and it's all about my crazy 90s experiences. So that's also in my website if anybody's interested. It's a great book. It's a lot of fun. Right, so why I spoke about the 90s was back then when I was so superficial, I wasn't interested in nature at all. And so suddenly, more and more I drifted away from the city life and more into the nature, into the wild, overgrown nature. And it made me so happy. I started to heal from all kinds of traumas that I had. The more I was immersed in water and in forests and going for walks by myself, the more I felt at peace. And so for me, I think when my third eye opened, I was immediately looking over an incredible area of nature. I was overlooking a rock, and I was looking at this rock thinking, what's going on? My eyes are closed. And the rock, I was going through the rock into the nature, deep into the nature, into the jungle, into the wild rushes, and I was going fast forward through this incredible experience. It lasted for 20 seconds because I was so excited when I started seeing this, when my third eye opened, that I was like, oh, and then it went. And then the whole image went and I just saw black again. So it is a skill that we need to master. And it does have everything to do with fasting. And we need to be relaxed when we do it as well. If these things happen, don't get overexcited. Just let it come and be calm. So that's going to be something that I will probably try next time, to be a bit more calm when these supernatural experiences happen. Exactly. We're all interdimensional beings just living right now in this fleshly experience, you know, in this material experience. But I think that everything exists in the now, and everything is, it's just like a radio frequency, you know, we just have to tune the radio a little bit different, and then we can tune into that. The doggy camera! Oh, look! You know, I have a story to tell you, quite an important story. I believe that this story might be important for you. So, okay, so in 2020, I became really, really ill. I had 8 years before that, in 2012, I had put breast implants inside of me, silicone breast implants. And these silicone breast implants, because I was never happy with my body, you know, I always wanted to have, I had no breasts and I wanted to have big boobs, so I had these implants put in. And when I put them in, I didn't realize, because I asked the doctor, I said, are they safe? He said, yeah, don't worry, nothing happens to them. I remember him jumping up and down on the breast implants. But what he didn't tell me is that slowly over the years, they slowly evaporate inside your body. Breast implants, the shell, everything starts to dissolve really, really slowly, and it goes into your bloodstream. Now, breast implants are filled with neurotoxins, heavy metals, the most dangerous neurotoxins you can imagine. Why? I don't know. I have a guess why you think they're filled with that. I wonder. And silicone, of course, which is completely destructive to the human body. And over the years, I had really weird symptoms. I started having chronic migraines. I started having a reflux. I had stomach issues. I was getting food intolerances, vision, all kinds of weird fatigue, chronic fatigue, tired all the time, no energy. And over time, I suddenly crashed in 2020. Within weeks, I crashed. And then I knew immediately it was the breast implants, because I'd heard about BII, breast implant illness, it's called. But actually what it really is, it's called breast implant poisoning, because breast implants, they poison the human body over time, starting from day one when you have the implants in your body. And it was a 5-hour operation. Even after the operation, I was still chronically ill for a year after that, and I wasn't getting better. I wasn't able to walk properly anymore. I had chronic insomnia. I couldn't sleep for days sometimes. I was going mad. And in the end, I went to Germany to have a procedure called Inusferese done, which is taking the blood out of your entire body and putting it through a filterization. You know, women have this natural innate intuition when they feel something might be, you know, taking place, something different is happening. Letting go from that and finally accepting, you know, it's okay.